Okay, so I've just turned on the recording button. So again, today's session is on best of automation and time saver. So I'm going to start with some of the very basics and then go through some other really cool features, which I think has really helped me when I've worked in legal. So the first thing I want to talk about is reveal formatting. Probably the biggest complaint, and I still hear it to this day, believe it or not, for those people who used to work in WordPerfect, that they really miss their quote unquote their reveal codes. Well, obviously Microsoft Word does not have revealed codes because all of their formatting is done preferably in styles. But there is something called reveal formatting. So if whatever paragraph that your cursor happens to be placed in, I can open the reveal formatting and I can see why all the formatting features that are part of this paragraph. And to open the reveal formatting, you simply use a shortcut combination key of Shift plus F1. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to hit my Shift key and my F1 key. And over here on the right is where the reveal formatting comes in. So once I open that up, I can see on the right-hand side the formatting that is for this paragraph. So I can see the actual font. It's Times New Roman 12. If I look at the paragraph formatting, it's showing that I'm in a style called body. It shows me what the alignment is. It shows indentation, that I've got a first line indentation of 0.5, spacing that's showing me line spacing of exactly 24 points. So again, instead of seeing reveal codes, you can see reveal formatting. And again, if you keep that reveal formatting pane open on the right, it will change for each paragraph that you actually click into. So once I click on this preliminary statement paragraph, I can see that it changed. And this is actually telling me my paragraph style now is heading 1. So again, it's a toggle, Shift F1. So if I hit it again, it will go away. Shift F1, it opens that reveal formatting. So that may be helpful to some of you. Now, when I work in Word, I always encourage people to have their show hide turned on. And show hide will show your paragraph marks. It's going to show your tab marks. And as someone responsible for formatting a document, I think it's important for you guys to see the formatting of a document. Now, I know a lot of attorneys or whatnot just don't like to see their screen muckied up with all these formatting features. So to toggle your show hide, it's if you go to your home ribbon in Word, and then right here in the middle in the paragraph group, there's the backward looking, there's the paragraph symbol. It's a toggle, so I can turn it off and I can turn it on. But again, as someone responsible for formatting, I always keep mine on. Another handy thing, for those of you who love keyboard strokes, you can, any of your menu items and ribbons up here, you can access via a keystroke if you'd like. If all you do is hit Alt on your keyboard, it's going to show you the respective letter or number with each of these ribbons. So if I wanted to look at my page layout, I would then hit P, right? And then if I wanted to look at my margins, I could hit M. And then if I wanted custom margins, I could hit A. So, and that would open up my page setup. So again, it's a toggle. Alt will turn that on and Alt will turn it off for those of you who are looking for that. All right. So that is to look at shortcut keys. Another handy thing that I use, and especially we're looking at a pleading right now, but any type of document, if you happen to use heading styles, then you can open something called the navigation pane, which is on your review tab, on your view tab up here, and it's just slightly left of center, and it's called the navigation pane. And this will allow you to navigate through your document based on your heading styles. Now, if you have a super lengthy document, and there could be a lot of transactional documents out there that I know can be hundreds of pages, and if you use heading styles in those, you can easily go to that section of the document simply by clicking on the actual heading here. So if I wanted to jump to conclusion, I can click on that, and it easily takes me to that area in my document. Again, for a document that's going to be hundreds of pages, super great way to navigate through your document is through headings. Or similar to Adobe Acrobat, how you see page thumbnails, where you can see page thumbnails in Word as well if you use the navigation. And the results here, this is for the find. I'm sure when you do a find, you see that this opens up and it gives you the results of what you're looking for. But I like to look at the navigation to look at my headings or my pages. So just another way for you to navigate through your document. I'm going to close that. Now, I mentioned styles. I use heading styles in my document. For those of you, maybe you're just kind of starting out with styles and you want a quick and easy way to kind of see which style is associated with every paragraph just by a glance. Yes, you can open your styles pane here and see what's highlighted, but there's another thing called the style area. Now, the drawback to this is you have to be in draft view to actually see the style area. So I happen to be, I'm in print layout, which is kind of the standard view in Microsoft Word. But if I click on draft, this is what I'm talking about. This is my style area. So I can see the style that is associated with every single paragraph in my document, because all of my documents pretty much are formatted using styles. Now, you will not see the style area by default. You actually have to turn it on. And to do that, you're going to go up to File. We're going to come down to Options, the bottom here. We're going to click on the Advanced, and then we're going to scroll down to where it says Display, which is right here. And this is it right here, Style Area Pane Width and Draft and Outline Views. By default, it's set to 0, which means you won't see it. But 0.7 happens to be a good number for me. 0.7 just means this is how wide the style area is. So just set a number in here, and then you'll see your style area when you're in draft or outline mode, okay? So you'll notice I'll go back to print layout and I won't see that. But if I go back to draft because I have it turned on, I actually see it. And for those of you who work a lot with styles, and again, I'm not going to get into how to modify styles or create them. That's another hour-long class that I do. But if I double click on the style name here, it actually opens my style box, and you can modify your styles from here. So just another way to get to modifying your styles if you're familiar with them. All right, I'm going to go back to print layout. So since we're kind of talking about viewing documents, and let's talk about actually viewing your ribbons. You can actually create a custom ribbon, a custom tab up here if you want. So, right, the ones we're looking at are kind of the standard tabs that come from Microsoft Word, but you can create your own. Just find a blank area up here in the gray area of your ribbon. So I've got lots of room over here on the right. So I'm actually going to right click and I'm going to say customize the ribbon. So we can see over here on the right, I'm main tabs, right? But I can create a new tab if I'd like. So right down here at the bottom, I'm going to click on New Tab, and it created a new tab. I'm now going to select that new tab, and I'm going to rename it. Otherwise, it's just going to say New Tab. So I've selected it. I have a rename button right down here. So we're going to call these DJB favorites. We'll make it all caps so it stands out. Right, so we'll put some of my favorite buttons on my new tab. So now I'm going to say, okay, so here's my new tab. So we can add a group. A group meaning, like if we look at the ribbon up here now, a group like this views, that's considered a group. So there's buttons in the views group. And then there's another group here called immersive, right? And you've got some buttons in that group. So you can create your own group. So I'm going to rename this group, and I'm going to call it styles, because I'm going to add some of my favorite styles to my styles group. And then I can also create another new group just by clicking on my DJB favorites. I can say new group, and here we go. I'm now going to click on that new group and rename it. And this one I'll call headers, footers, because I'll put some of the tools in there that I use to work with my headers and footers. So I'll just do 2 now for these training. And once I say okay, I'll see them up there. But I want to add my buttons to these groups. So for my styles group, I'm now going to come over here to the left, and it defaults to popular commands. For styles, I'm going to look at all commands, okay, because I want to find my styles in here. And then I happen to know you actually, it's under apply. Little misleading, or it could be difficult to find, but here we are. So I've got apply heading 1. I'm going to add that to my styles group. I'm going to apply my heading 2, and I'm going to apply my heading 3. So I've applied 3 buttons to my styles group. Now for my headers and footers, I'm going to come back up to my all commands, and I'm going to find my all tabs, or actually I'll look for my main tabs. Oh, I take that back. Let's go back to all tabs. Here we go. And I'm going to look for my header and footer tools right here. I'm going to expand my header and footer tools, and I'm going to expand header and footer. So maybe I'm going to add my edit header tab to my headers and footers, and I'm going to do my footer, and I'll include page number. So this is all I'm going to add now for this training. So now I'm going to go ahead and say okay. So here is my new tab, and here's my button. So here's the group styles I created, and then the group headers and footers. So if I click on any paragraph in here, I can quickly apply my heading 2 style, right? And I can also quickly go to edit my footer by clicking on my headers and footers and going into there. So again, just a easy way if you guys want to create a custom ribbon. My preference, to be honest with you, and I'm just going to undo this because I didn't really want to make that a heading style. My preference, instead of actually creating a whole new ribbon, I actually customize my quick access toolbar. That's my preference over working with an actual tab. And the reason is, if you work with tabs, like even if you create your favorite tab, in order to get to other buttons, you have to go to a different tab. So if I want to do something on my home tab, I have to click on that. If I want to do something from my insert tab, I have to click on that tab. However, your quick access toolbar is always showing no matter what tab you're in. And your quick access toolbar is this toolbar that's up above. By default, your quick access toolbar is above the ribbon. Now, your quick access toolbar is probably going to look very different than mine because I've added a whole bunch of buttons to my quick access toolbar. But one thing I definitely do, my preference is to show it below the ribbon because I feel it's much easier to read. So again, by default, it shows above the ribbon. You need to go find the very last drop down on your quick access toolbar, which is right here. If I click on that drop down, the very last item is show below the ribbon. So this is what I mean, so much easier to read when it's below the ribbon. So I actually put all my customizations into my quick access toolbar versus creating a new tab like I showed you just a minute ago. And again, it's because I can access any tool. These tools always stay here no matter what ribbon I click on, right? So I prefer just always accessing my quick access toolbar. So to add a button to your quick access toolbar, there's a quick way and then there's a little bit of a longer way. I would say 98% of the items you want to add to your quick access toolbar, you can do by using a right-click method. There are a few that you need to kind of go the longer route, so I'm going to show you both ways. So find the button that you want quick access to, right? And I like to edit my header and footers. I like to add those to my quick access toolbar. So I'm on my Insert tab up here. I'm going to come over to my headers and footers group. I'm going to click the drop down for my headers, and right here, edit header, I'm going to right click on it. And first thing that comes up is add to quick access toolbar. So there it is. So the next thing I'm going to add, I'm going to click the drop down for footer, and I'm going to right click on edit footer. And there it is. So really it's that simple. Now I can simply click on my edit footer button and it takes me right to my footer. No more having to go insert, footer, edit footer, right? I've got the quick button to it on my quick access toolbar. Now, like I said, that's the quick way. There is one button which I still don't understand why Microsoft doesn't put on your quick access toolbar, and that's the close button, right? They put the open, and I think they put the new, and I think they put the save, but not the close. And I am not a fan of having to go file close. Yes, you can click in the X up here in the upper right-hand corner, but my preference, I put the close button on my quick access toolbar. If I go to the File tab, notice how if I right-click on these, nothing happens. There's no Add to Quick Access Toolbar. So this is anything that's on your File tab here, you're going to have to add the long way. So the long way. Let's click that drop down at the very end of our quick access toolbar, and we're going to go to more commands. Okay, and notice here it defaults to popular commands. Again, another thing that makes me scratch my head, they don't consider the close a popular command. It's not listed here. I don't know why, but they don't. So if I click this drop down, then I can choose from here. And my close button is on my File tab, right? So if I click on File tab here, then I can come down and here's my close file. So I can click on it and I'm going to say add. So it's going to add it to the end of my quick access toolbar, but I'm actually going to move it all the way up. I'm going to move it next to my open. So I've got it selected here, and over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to keep clicking until it's in the spot where I want it. So I'll put it right after my open. And now I'll say OK. So here's my File Close tab. So again, that's just some basic tips on working with your quick access toolbar. It's my favorite toolbar that I actually use in Word. And you can see that I've added a whole bunch. I actually removed a few buttons before this training because some of you may have felt it was a little overwhelming, but I truly do add a lot of buttons to my quick access toolbar. All right, so that was that. So let's talk about shortcut keys, right? Yes, I add a lot of buttons here to my quick access toolbar, but I also create shortcut keys for certain functions that I use frequently. I'm going to open a blank document. So Control N, right? That's a shortcut key that's built into Microsoft. So for my heading styles, I've given them shortcut keys like Control 1 gives me heading 1, Control 2 gives me heading 2, right? Or even, let's see, Control Shift B, yeah, Control Shift B changes it to body text style. So to apply a shortcut key, like let's say, for instance, and this one I use a lot, I'm going to add a table, right? I like to, I could have many rows and with information filled in, and then I realize I want an extra row put into my already created and filled out table. Yes, I can go to my table design or my table layout and I can say insert below or insert above. And yes, I can certainly put any of these keys on these buttons on my quick access toolbar if I want, or I should say, I can give myself a shortcut key so it does it for me. I don't even have to use a mouse. So to start adding shortcut keys to some of your favorite buttons or functions, again, I'm going to right-click anywhere up here in my ribbon in the gray area, and we're going to go to Customize the Ribbon. And it's right down here at the bottom, Keyboard Shortcuts, Customize. So you can go by categories, like anything that's on the File tab, if you wanted to apply like File Close, which I think is probably, no, there is no shortcut key, but you could File Exit, I think there is. No, not for that one either. But the one I like to is for the table, right? We're talking about table rows. So from our category, I'm going to scroll all the way down to where I get to Table Tools, Layout tab. And here's all the buttons that the functions I have available to me. So I want Table Insert Row Above. I've got the command selected, then right down here, press New Shortcut Key. I'm going to put my cursor in there. And this is where, and it has to be a combination keystroke, so it has to start with Control or Alt or Shift or a combination of those. So I think of this as row. Now you guys are going to assign it to whatever makes sense to you. If I do Control R for row, do you see how that's telling me that's currently assigned to right paragraph? Meaning when I'm in a paragraph, I could do Control R and I think it's going to right align it. So maybe I won't override that. So let me just kind of come back over. Let me just delete this. So maybe I'll do Control Shift R, Control Shift R. All right, perfect. Currently assigned to, it's blank. So I'm pretty darn comfortable assigning this shortcut key to my insert row above. And right here in the bottom left, I'm going to say assign, and then it assigns that current key. So now I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this dialog box. Now, wherever my cursor is, and you have to be in a table for this to work, I can now do my Control-Shift-R key, and it inserts a row above. So again, you can think of many different types of functions in Word that you want to assign a shortcut key to. Super helpful. All right, now we're going to talk about automating. So I'm going to delete what I've got in here. And what I'm going to start with automating is auto text. Auto text I use so much. It is such a handy function. So what auto text is, for instance, I used to work for an attorney that every single letter he dictated, he ended it with, should you have any questions regarding the above referenced matter, please feel free to contact me. Every single letter. So I would create an auto text entry that as soon as I start typing the first few letters where it's going to recognize my auto text entry, I can now hit enter and it actually types that entire sentence for me. It can type in sentences, paragraphs, like for instance, notary, right? I could quickly insert an entire notary just with a few keystrokes. So how do we do this? First of all, you need to get the text that you want to insert as a notary, or as, I'm sorry, not a notary, but as an auto text. So I think I have a file in here for depot notice, right? So I'm going to put all this text of a depot notice into an auto text. So if I do my next depot notice with just a couple of keystrokes, I can insert this entire language. And this is so much easier than finding another depot notice, open it, copy it, paste it into my current document. This is going to save you a lot of time. So initially, find the text you want. We're going to select it. So I'm going to select all of it. And then we're going to go to my auto text, which I know is under Quick Parts Auto Text. Or better yet, I actually have that on my quick access toolbar, right? I told you I add a ton of things in here. So from auto text, and let me back up. Quick Parts, to add it to your quick access toolbar, right click on auto text, and notice how mine's grayed out because it's already added, okay? But if yours isn't, add it to your quick access toolbar, and then you can quickly get to your auto text from here. So I'm going to save my selection to my auto text gallery. Now, let's talk about these naming conventions, because for me, this is key. So I think you may have noticed all of my auto text entries, I start with an asterisk or a symbol. And the reason is Microsoft has a whole bunch of its own auto text entries that it created for you, and they're going to be listed alphabetically. I don't want to be bothered with all the stuff that Microsoft has put in there for me. I want my own auto text entries to start at the top of the list. And if you start with a symbol, because if it's sorted alphabetically, symbols are going to come before your letters. So I do start all my auto text with an asterisk. And if I used a real word for my auto text entry, like if I did here, if I really called it, deposition without my asterisk, every time I type deposition and hit space, it's going to enter this auto text. So you don't want your auto text entry to be a complete real word. Otherwise, it can get inserted when you don't want it. So I start mine with an asterisk, and then maybe I already have one in here called depot notice. So we're going to call this one new depot notice, right? And you can have it all run together. And when you go to enter your auto text, as you start typing, it's going to recognize as soon as what I'm typing is unique enough, that's when I'm going to get that little smart tag. So if I had called this depot notice 2, it wouldn't recognize it as being unique until I got to the number 2 because I already have one in here called Depot Notice. And I'll kind of show you that to explain what I'm talking about. Well, so we're going to call this one New Depot Notice. Gallery, I do, and we'll talk a little bit about these galleries here in a bit. But auto text, I am creating an auto text entry, so we want to keep this in my auto text gallery. Now you can create a category. It's going to put it in general. And again, categories you can define them by, if you kind of want to categorize them by pleadings or letters, whatever. And we'll do that when we get into doing one for a pleading. We'll categorize it. Now, save in. The difference between saving in your normal.dotm and your building blocks. If you save it into your normal.dotm, we're going to get that little smart tag that we saw earlier. As soon as I did asterisk and then started typing should, we got that little smart tag saying hit enter to insert the whole thing. If I save it into building blocks, I will not get that smart tag. I would have to type the entire name and then hit F3. So the downside, if I save it in my normal.dotm, which I tend to because it's easier, I like the smart tag. If Word on your computer ever gets corrupted and they need to do an uninstall and reinstall, you're going to get a new normal.dotm, and that new normal.dotm is not going to have your auto text entries. So you might want to make a backup of this on occasion. Your building blocks, you can save out to somewhere else and recover that later on. So there's pros and cons to both. I still kind of save most of mine in my normal.dotm. All right, so now I'm going to say OK. So I'll close out this document, and I've got a blank document. Now I'm going to, if I do new, do you see how all I really had to do is it's automatically recognized this as a unique auto text entry by the first 4 characters. So at this point, and this is that smart tag I'm talking about. You're not going to get this if you save your auto text entries in your building block. You're not going to get this little prompt. So from here, I can just hit enter, and there's my entire auto text entry. So I use these for a ton of things. So that's why, why I put it on. I put the auto text entries, the button on my quick access toolbar. So similar but different to auto text entry is autocorrect. Now, Word has a whole bunch of its own autocorrect, right? If you type the word what incorrectly, like W-A-H-T, and hit space, it autocorrects for you. This is autocorrect. So if there are words, and trust me, there are, believe it or not, when I'm typing super fast and I type my own name, this is often what I type, D-A-I-N-A. Don't ask me why, it's my name. You'd think I'd get it right. But that is what I end up typing a lot. So think of autocorrects as short little bursts. For instance, like I can do and again, I like my asterisks. If I do asterisk DJB and hit space, see how it filled in my entire name. That is an autocorrect entry that I created. So let's create one for this one, right? I told you I frequently type my name incorrectly, sad to say. So I've selected it. I'm now going to go File, Options. And this is going to be on the Proofing tab here, and I'm going to go to Autocorrect Options. So it's saying replace this, which is the incorrect, with, and this time I'll type it correctly, Diana. I can say OK, say OK. Now, if I do what I frequently do, oops, D-A-I, and now I can't even get it right this time. If I type it incorrectly, the D-A-I-N-A, it will auto-correct it. So autocorrect I keep for short little things, names or long words that are difficult to type. There are some clients' last names or something that, you know, typing it just doesn't flow off the finger. So I will often create an autocorrect entry for names for me that are difficult to type, or firm names. If your firm name is really long, create an auto text entry that you just type the initials of it. But again, I'd probably put the asterisk before it. So before I move on, I kind of showed you in the proofing the autocorrect, but when you open autocorrect, do you see how these other tabs are here? And I want to talk about auto format for a minute. I'm going to close this out for now. Do you, when you type a number and hit tab, do you not hate the fact that it auto formats that, and then as soon as you hit enter, you get the next number? Me personally, I'm not a fan. I'm probably not so upset that it's going to renumber the next paragraph, but I hate the fact that it automatically put a tab in front of it, and then this little tab is definitely not 0.5 from there. So Word is just trying to, Microsoft is just trying to think for you on how you want to auto format your list numbers. You can control this, and even better yet, turn it off in that area where we were at for auto correct. So let's go back there and see what's causing this. So file options, proofing, auto correct options. So this is auto format, and it's right here. List styles, and I even tend to turn off, actually this part's okay. I'm going to go to auto format as I type in. Here's the culprit, automatic numbered lists. Once I uncheck that, now if I go back to Word and I type 1, it's not doing it. Now it's not going to auto number for me for the next paragraph. For me, that's okay because I have my own styles that I use for this auto numbering, but there are occasions that I may just want to and then move on, and I just don't like it auto formatting all that for me. So take some time out and look through what else is going on with auto format, right? The internet network pass, right? When you type a www or an email address and you get the hyperlink, it's because that's checked here. The ordinals, you can look at that. So look through your auto format as you type, and you can also look through auto format and, you know, change these settings as you see fit. And it's only going to change it on your computer, not everybody's computer. So might want to look into auto format. So we touched on auto text, and auto text is part of a much larger picture called building blocks. If I go to insert, right, and quick parts, building blocks, it's all kind of the same thing. So when I click on quick parts, I see auto text, document properties, and building blocks organizer. So auto text is just a part of building blocks, but there's a lot more with this automation that we can do. And I want to kind of talk about using specific building blocks to headers or to footers, a gallery, so to speak. And what I'm talking about is, I'm going to delete everything here. If I come up to insert and I go to my header, I've created some of my own custom header galleries similar to an auto text, But because I put them in the header gallery, I see them when I click on my header button. So I have one in here called letterhead. So if I click on this, I can click on it, or I could have typed the shortcut name for it here. But if I click on my letterhead in my header gallery, do you see how it actually went into my header and it pasted this in? So, you know, it could be a way for you to insert your letterhead information. Obviously, you're going to need to do some more work by setting it up to have a different first page header and footer and whatnot, but it is a method that you can use. One thing I use header galleries for a lot are going to be pleadings. So if I come into my pleading here, and and I'm sure this has all happened, or this has happened to many of you. If you delete a section break when you're in a pleading, have you ever lost your line numbering, right? Your line numbering is embedded in your header in a pleading. So I'm going to just pretend that that happened, and I'm going to manually delete it. So we're going to pretend that I deleted a section break, and gosh darn it, I lost my line numbering. Well, I can easily pop it right back in because I've created a line numbering building block or quick part and put it in my header gallery. So I can click on that and boom, there it is. I'm in my header, close out of my header. I'm back into my pleading now. So how do you do this? And you can do the same, right? I can do footers. I can do custom footer galleries, and I have one for a TOC footer. So let me bring up the sample of that because that's what we're actually going to do. All right. So here's a pleading. I have a footer on my notice. Here's my table of contents. I have no footer. Some people like to have a different footer, meaning the name in the footer is going to say table of contents instead of the actual name of the document. So what I can do here is I just have to put my cursor on this page, come to my insert, header, and footer is what I wanted, footer, and click on my TOC footer, and it opens my footer, and it popped in this customized footer for my table of contents, right? So these are galleries, so to speak. So how do we do this? Let's create one for, if we look at my table of authorities, there's no footer here. So similar to AutoText, I have to go find a sample of one that is correct. So I'm going to go back to my regular master pleading, and I'm going to actually come up to my table of authorities footer here. I'm going to click inside it. I'm going to do a Control-A, which is select all. And then, so I've got it all selected. Now I'm going to come to Insert, Header. Right down here, I can save selection to header gallery, name it, right? And I'm famous for my asterisks because I want it to be at the top of my list. So TOA footer, and notice it already chose the gallery because I started from my header area. And then I even created a customized category. Which you can see my customized category. I even started with an asterisk. Why? Because I want it to be at the top of my list because I'm going to use it more often. More often than the built-in ones that come from Microsoft. So I had even created my own category. So TOA footer, I'm now going to say OK. So this is now in my footer gallery. Oh, did I save that? You know what? I saved that in my header gallery, didn't I? Okay, let me back up. Sorry. We're going to save it to my footer gallery. Sorry, not thinking here. TOA footer is what I'm going to call it. We're going to save it to our pleadings, and I'm going to say OK. So now I'm going to go back to my other pleading that here's my table of authorities. It does not have a footer. I'm going to put my cursor on that page. I'm now going to go Insert, Header. There it is, TOA footer. And again, see how my asterisk pleadings category comes before the built-in ones that Microsoft has, because I created my own category and started it with an asterisk. So here's my TOA footer. I'm going to, oops, I was in my header. You know, I'm just all over the place here, aren't I? Let's do this again. Sorry about that. All right, let's focus, Diana. Okay, put my cursor in the page. That's my table of contents. No, that's my table of authorities. We're going to go Insert. This time we're going to go Footer, and we're going to go TOA footer. And there we go. It popped it into my footer. Sorry about that. A little bit off here today. But hopefully you get the gist of it. So those are called galleries. And the galleries, when you save a quick part to a specific gallery, it just makes them available to you in different areas. Another type of gallery are these cover pages, right? And these cover pages, these are all the ones that come with Microsoft Word. But that's a type of a gallery as well. If I had one, see how it would say Save Selection to Cover Page Gallery. So you know, you can start playing around with that. All right. So, you know, I think I've covered just about everything I want to cover. If you want to see where all, and please start sending me your questions here, because I'm going to, in just a minute, do a quick little 1-minute demo of the macros. But before I do that, I want to show you the building blocks organizer. And this is going to show me I can sort it by galleries, and you can see all my auto text, right? And if I scroll down, here's the cover pages galleries, the footers galleries, the headers galleries, or I can sort it by name, right? And because you can see all the ones I've created because they start with my symbol here, so that's a quick way. So we can see some auto text is in general, some are auto text, some are headers, some in quick parts. So you can see all of them in here. And if you created one and you want to delete it, you can just select it and say delete from here if you want to clean them up. So hopefully that will help you. All right. So I'm going to do a very quick little 1-minute demo, and then I am going to get to the questions. So please start sending your questions. So Afinety macros, when they are installed on a client's computer, they get 3 new ribbons up here, or 3 new tabs: General, Litigation, and Formatting. And one macro that we have is called Cleanup Scanned Discovery. So this is going to be responses to special interrogatories. Okay, response to special interrogatories. Now, many of you actually have to take the interrogatories that were served on you, get those in the document, and then create right underneath each interrogatory a response to interrogatories. Well, we have a macro, and you have to do a little bit of work up front, in that you have to clean up the actual macro, the interrogatories that were served on you. So whether it's in a PDF or whatever, you need to clean them up a little bit. In other words, there's not a return at the end of every line, only a paragraph or a return at the end of every paragraph. So I've done that ahead of time, right? So here's all my interrogatories that were served on me. So I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to copy them. And then I'm going to go back to my responses, and I'm going to actually use a macro on my general ribbon to paste them unformatted. So I have them in my document. Then I'm going to put my cursor at the very first interrogatory. I'm going to go back to my litigation ribbon. I'm going to click on Discovery, and I'm going to use my Cleanup Scan Discovery macro. gives me a little warning. I'm going to say, yep, these are special interrogatories. We're going to start at 1. And what this does is it formats your special interrogatory headings so that they are auto-numbered. That's why we see them shaded, right? Here's the interrogatory. Then right underneath it, it went ahead and inserted and formatted a response and then leaves me a spot to respond. So for those of you who have to constantly format that, quick and simple way to do this using our macros. So that's it. I told you it would be quick little 1 to 2 minute demo. Now I will get to the questions that some of you have typed. So I'm going to go ahead and open on the questions. All right, first question, Karen. For handouts, there is only one, not one of 5. Please forward. Karen, if there's one handout, then that should be all you need. So if it's showing you one handout, then there is only one handout. So I know it's a little misleading. I think it says 1 of 5 because you can upload up to 5, and I only uploaded 1. So hopefully that helps. Karen, shouldn't gallery reflect footer instead of header? You caught that. You caught my error. So yes, I was going to the wrong one, but hopefully I corrected myself and made a little bit more sense there. Thank you for catching that. Berta, how can you use the numbering feature for discovery responses? For example, form interrogatory number 1. Oh, gosh. Berta, numbering for things that like what you're looking for is kind of tricky in Word, and I'm not really prepared to discuss that in this training. Especially with form interrogatories, they don't automatically renumber themselves, and I don't know why you would be typing a form interrogatory because there's the form. So not prepared to get into, numbering in detail. That will take much longer than the 2 minutes I have left. I apologize for that. Connie, how do you copy text from a PDF without it copying the numbers on the side? Connie, that's a great question. I have yet to figure out how to do that. I have not found a way. Instead, I've kind of jerry-rigged some find and replace tactics when that happens for me. But I've not found a way for it to actually not copy over all the paragraph marks. Great question. If anyone ever has figured that out, I would love to know also. All right. Need more for special interrogatories and other discovery requests. Yeah, Berta, same thing. I'm not prepared to really get into, I don't have the time to get into that type of numbering that you're talking about. And actually, that's why I created a macro to help me with that numbering, because the type of numbering from available using the numbering that comes with Word here can get super tricky, and that's kind of for another day. I don't really have the time left for that. Any other questions? I think I've gotten through all of them with, oh, I do. Great, Kimberly. If you have Adobe Pro, you can crop the text you want, or you can redact without the pleading numbers prior to copying. Yeah, I don't, Kimberly, it's not so much the pleading numbers, but even if you do crop, which I totally understand what you're saying to get rid of the, the 1 through 28 on the side, even if you crop and copy the text, don't you still get a return at the end of every single line? I think that's what the original question was about, and I have not figured out a way, but I totally understand. Cropping is good to get rid of the pleading line numbers because you definitely don't want those to come over, but we've not figured out a way to get the paragraph marks. Or Connie, actually, Connie, I think that is what she's talking about. How do you copy text from a PDF without it copying the numbers on the side? So, Kimberly, you actually answered her question properly, whereas I was thinking of something different. So, Connie, yes, if you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can crop it out. Again, and you could probably Google that and find a lot of things. I don't have time to get into that on this particular webinar, but it can be done, and it would be using the cropping method that Kimberly talked about. So perfect. No, the Berta, the handout is not attached to the email. Instead, if you look at the GoToWebinar panel that you have on the side, there's a little tab there that says handouts, and it does say 1 of 5, but there's only one handout attached. If you click on that area on the actual GoToWebinar panel, you can download the handout directly from the panel here. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your questions, and I hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Have a great remaining of the day.